Brian Vollmer
Yes,
from Helix or Helix. How you doing?
I'm fine. Yourself, Max?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thank you so much for your time. And let's talk about what's going on with Helix nowadays. Your new record, your tour dates. But let's start with the new album, Old School, that came out like a month ago in June. So tell me about the lyrics, about all the process about recording the new album.
Well, we wrote the songs during the 80s, and they were songs that, for whatever reason, didn't make it onto albums during that time period. And last year, I was cleaning out my basement closet, and they came across them. I knew they were down there, but I kind of put them in the back of my mind because, over the past couple of years, I've been writing with Sean Kelly and Gord Pryor, Steve Georgopoulos, and a few others. And only recently I've started writing with the guys in the band again, Daryl and Fritz and Chris and Caleb. And but anyway, I came across these songs, and when I mentioned them to a friend, he says, you should release those. I went, yeah, that's not a bad idea. So I went back, and three of the songs were on 2-inch tapes, so we went and thermally baked those tapes with Siegfried Meyer up in Godrich, and Siegfried's worked with Kitty and a lot of other big bands. And anyway, we got those songs off the 2-inch tape, and then the rest were on cassettes that were pretty damaged. So we had to re-record those songs, and so we spent the winter doing that. And this spring we finished it off. Brent Durner, who used to play guitar for the band, did the artwork, and the finished product was called Old School.
What are they doing? What are the shows, upcoming shows? New albums. And I celebrate also, going back to your album, I celebrate this, Old School, because every time there's a new album of rock and roll, it's a good news for us. We have new material to listen. You have new conversations with friends. Have a beer or a party, and listen to music. And this is what we do, and I love it. And I thank you so much, Brian, for your time. Anything else you want to add? Any show, any upcoming shows, anything else? Your website, please. I know your website is helixplanet.com. Please go ahead and tell me all about your new shows and your websites, please.
Well, this year we're going to be in, this week rather, we're going to be in Fort Erie, Ontario, which is up by Niagara Falls, and then we're going to be going to Sweden. I think we're playing with Airborne over in Sweden, so that's going to be a great gig. I love that band. Lots of energy. I've seen them once before. As for the rest of the year, we're touring across Canada, and then I go and I spend my winters in Florida, and while I'm down there,
awesome.
I work on all the films that we have. I've been taking film since the 1970s with Helix. I started off with Super 8 sound, and then I had little Sony mini discs and videotape recorders, and I've saved all that film. And it's important because Helix was probably the biggest metal band that ever come out of Canada. And so I was one of the few people that document all those great, fantastic years in Canadian rock history, traveling to bars across the country, and a scene that doesn't exist anymore. So I'm putting that all together, and eventually I'm going to give it to the University of Toronto.
Oh, nice.
So they can keep it in their archives and it won't be lost. I'm also one of the last people in the world to teach true bel canto. Bel canto was a vocal technique that was started by Leonardo da Vinci way back in the 1600s.
Wow.
And passed down through the ages by word of mouth. And I stumbled across it because I lost my voice in 1976, and my manager at that time sent me to a vocal coach by the name of Edward Johnson. He also taught Gilmour of Triumph, Beverly D'Angelo, the famous actress, and many other famous singers, Daniel Lanois, that produced Pink Floyd and U2. And Ed taught me to be a voice teacher, and now I teach students, the girls from Kitty, Mercedes, and Morgan Lander have been my students. I teach a country singer named Tim Hicks, who's had a couple top 10 Canadian hits in country music here in my home country. And I consider it a gift that I've been given, and it's a lost art, bel canto, because it's the only way to sing without having muscular tension on your vocal cords. And as you probably know, a lot of singers over the years have lost their voice and can't sing anymore. And so I want to carry on the tradition of bel canto and teach people how to sing so they can extend their careers. I'm 64 this year, and the money now is better than it's ever been before in my career.
Okay.
And yet a lot of my peers that are my age are losing their voice. They can't work anymore because they can't sing, or else they're up there and they're literally torturing themselves every night to try to just make it through the set. When they don't have to go through all that if they just would have learned how to sing properly.
Exactly. So what advice would you recommend? Because I asked this question to all the singers, because your voice is your instrument, right? And you need to take care of it. So some of the singers tell me, okay, I don't drink, I don't smoke, So what do you do in order to preserve, that using those techniques?
Just to stay healthy, essentially, but when you learn bel canto and you have a proper technique on your voice, the technique is scientifically based. In other words, you do certain physical things that prevent those sore throats from happening in the first place. There's 4 steps to bel canto. The first is lifting your throat. You learn how to lift your throat because singers lose their voice because they get tension around the vocal cords.
Okay.
As much as we like to think that we were, born to sing high C's and high A's and things like that, we weren't. So when singers get up there in their upper register, the vocal cords are essentially hitting together so hard that they develop nodes or polyps, which are really only a callus in your vocal cords. In other words, you get a callus in your hand. It's your body's way of protecting your hand. Say you're using a screwdriver all day long.
Oh, okay.
You get blisters and then you get calluses. It's your body's way of protecting your hand. And in the case of nodes or polyps on the vocal cords, because singers belt, push, or throw their voice and have so much tension around their thyroid cartilage, which contains your vocal cords, your vocal folds, that tension is all transferred to your vocal cords. They strike each other too forcibly and they develop these calluses, and what happens is your vocal cords lose their elasticity and they can't vibrate correctly. So getting back to what we were originally talking about, which is what future plans I have, part of it is going to be to put on film, put in videos, how to learn the technique, and once you learn the technique, it takes the tension off the vocal cords and allows singers to sing once again without damaging their vocal cords.
Got it. How, if I want to contact you, or if I want to see more about your band, Helix, what is the best way to contact you guys? Like through a website, through email?
You can go to our website, which is planethelix.com, or you can email me directly at bvollm, as in mother, 0656 at rogers.com. And I always get back to whoever writes me, even if it's only just a line or two. I answer all our fan mail.
Awesome.
And having that grassroots following has always been important to the band. Back in the 70s, we used to sit down and do handwritten letters to our fans, and we've continued that tradition through the whole 46 year of our history.
Okay. Brian, thank you so much for your time. I love that, again, I love that you have a new record out there, old school. You guys have to go and buy it. Everybody has to go and buy this record. Support the bands, support the rock and roll bands. We have to keep this music alive no matter what. Brian Vollmer, thank you so much for your time again. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Max, and thank you for your support and for all the support from our fans that are listening out there today.
Thank you, Brian.